even 8 years after its initial release, there's still nothing quite like the fever dream that is Catherine. It remains an excellent fusion of thrilling block-pushing puzzle mechanics and an exciting love story about the deathly consequences of infidelity. Catherine Full Body is a complete re-release of the 2011 PS3 classic with a slew of added extras including online verses, a handful of new endings, a new remix mode, and most substantially, a completely new character named Rin that gets stitched into the story, adding a few hours of new gameplay and cutscenes. These extras aren't quite enough to justify a full $60 price tag for returning customers, but for those that missed out on Catherine's twisted tale of love and deception, Full Body is a temptation worth giving into.
Whoa! You alright?
Yeah, thank you. You're so kind.
For the uninitiated, Catherine is part action puzzle platformer, part visual novel/dating sim. The unusual story takes place over the course of several days and centers around the turbulent love life of the at times frustratingly dumb, but deep down good-hearted Vincent Brooks. Catherine's story is a definite high point, telling a dark and mature tale that molds itself based around the kind of person that you want Vincent to be. And it still holds up 8 years later. Though it does have a frustrating tendency to present highly dramatic scenes that seem impossible for Vincent to navigate out of with his relationships intact, only to end them abruptly before anything is resolved. Like this.
Bathroom gotta go right now!
I'll ask my parents when they'll be available.
Still, if you're able to look past that, Catherine is still very engrossing. Its characters are charming and relatable, and they actually get even better in Full Body thanks to the addition of Rin.
You're an odd one, Rin. Yet, it's kind of a breath of fresh air.
Atlus did a wonderful job of making sure Rin's arc didn't feel just tacked on to the main plot of Catherine. It's woven directly into the already existing story, with Rin working as the resident piano player at the Stray Sheep bar, and moving in as Vincent's next-door neighbor. It also helps that Rin is just adorable and brings out a side of Vincent that we never really got to see before.
Hey, won't you give it a rest? I don't know what you're going through, but don't take it out on her.
One that is genuinely kind, thoughtful, and removed from having to deal with either the stress of his strained relationship with Catherine with a K, or the guilt and fear that comes with his infidelity with Catherine with a C. Rin also probably has my favorite romance route in Full Body, complete with an extra chapter that wasn't present in the original game, and some downright jaw-dropping scenes that are best seen for yourself.
Edge.
Catherine's story is great, but it's the absurdly deep and rewarding puzzle gameplay that keeps me coming back. During Vincent's nightmares, you must conquer towers of blocks by pushing and pulling individual blocks to make stairways and bridges, all while avoiding traps, hazards, and other forms of nastiness. It may sound straightforward on paper, but once the towers start to get a little more complex and the hazards a little more hazardous, Catherine has my brain firing on all cylinders like few other puzzle platformers do, with flexible puzzle design that allows for tons of improvisation. For those that are looking for a new challenge, Full Body adds a remix mode that throws in large Tetris-like blocks that must be moved all at once. Remix was definitely worth playing through for a fresh experience and certainly ups the difficulty by throwing in very unwieldy blocks, but I still personally prefer the classic mode. Remix mode can feel a little inconsistent with some levels that worked great, others that had extremely easy layouts that required very little thought, and others still that were so puzzle heavy that they felt like they just had one solution, removing the improvisational element that makes Catherine so special. There's also a ton of quality of life improvements all across the board, like retry assist, the ability to rewatch technique tutorials at save points, and a few item tweaks. But unfortunately, there's still nothing that will save us from the voice that says, "New record," every time you take a new step in Babel.
New record, new record, new record, new record, new record, new record.
Catherine is a timeless classic, and Full Body does a great job of adding meaningful new content and plenty of small tweaks that breathe fresh life into it. It's the perfect entry point for those who missed the 2011 original. It may be a little too familiar for those who already experienced everything Catherine had to offer 8 years ago, but there's still value to be had with Rin's excellent story arc, remix mode, online multiplayer, and a plethora of new puzzles. For more Catherine, check out our review of the original game, along with gameplay from Full Body. And for everything else, keep it here on IGN.